I've always felt that the physical body was like a door to other dimensions, and that this door could only be opened by feeling the body deeply. This idea of feeling the body deeply formed the core premise of a physical theater of sources, a kind of paratheater that I've designed to access and express the internal landscape of forces in the body itself. In this paratheater medium, there are no set movements or postures to copy, and no dogmas to believe in. In fact, nobody is shown how to do anything. Everyone moves at their own pace and finds their own way to fulfill a series of inner and outer objectives, which I'll explain more about later. This is a group of mixed talent, of dancers, yoga teachers, martial artists, actors, singers, that I trained in paratheater as part of a process of preparing for a dreaming ritual I discovered one morning after repeating movements that I remembered from my night dreams. I became fascinated by how doing these movements triggered images and emotions of the dreams they came from. This group will be working towards executing movements they remembered from their own dreams.
It's the best form of work I found for doing what I want to do, what I'm trying to do. But that does leave the question: what the heck am I trying to do? And that's a harder question to answer. I'm following some prompting, maybe some prompting of the soul to explore it. There's that Buddhist saying, "What you are seeking is causing you to seek," and so there's some prompting, there's something that says, explore me, excavate me, make room for me, allow me to more fully manifest in you, and this work is really the best tool I found for it.
So we started slow and cautious, but then after a while we trusted each other and nobody banged into each other. And we were just finding the space in between and zipping around. And it was very freeing and flowing and fun. And I don't even remember where I started or ended. Like if we had to do a memory walk for that, I would have no idea. Because it was just, because you don't know where you're going to go next, because you're actually in some way influenced by the propulsion of these others. Because the spaces hasn't been created yet until you're there.
Paratheater is an asocial group medium. An asocial climate allows for unexpected interactions beyond the social habits and protocols that can inhibit creative response, like the way this group is moving together. No one is relating with anyone, yet everybody is relating to the spaces between each other. Spatial awareness supports an asocial climate.
Well, initially, I didn't spend too much time kind of trying to orient myself to the asocial component in many ways, because for whatever reason that comes fairly easily to me. It's almost a relief to gather around people without any social expectations. So in some ways what has been more difficult is navigating the occasional social elements that may arise around the work, because when the labs are over or you see the same people time and time again, there's a necessity for certain socializing to also smooth things out and create a more integral type of container. So in some ways my work has been more around that, whereas the asocial, it's fairly natural.
Initially, I really liked, years ago when I moved into doing this work, I liked that it was asocial, because it just took away any anxiety that I might or do have around relating socially, having to be somebody or maintain something. That just took it away, so that I could move into the space and just to focus on not really having to relate to people if I didn't want to, or the relation would be genuine. Or it was part of sort of the theme of the work that we were doing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't to like, hey, catching up or Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Feeling the body deeply starts with a 30-minute physical warm-up that's divided into 5 phases. Each 6-minute phase is defined by a specific physical objective that each person meets in their own way. Along with the asocial element, autonomy plays a central role in this work. In the first phase, everyone finds a physical position where they can remain still for 6 minutes. Rendering the spine more flexible, stimulates the central nervous system and turns on a kind of inner switch, igniting the subtle energy body inside the physical body, or what I call the energetic body. Paratheater works the energetic body as much as the physical body. Working the abdominal region brings heat to the center of the body, the core, and accelerates the overall objective of feeling the body deeply. A strong core helps to maintain our physical balance when we're moving under the influence of forces evoked in the rituals we're preparing for. Stretching the muscles expands range of motion, but it also releases forces residing in the muscles themselves. This group knows that the more they commit to feeling their body deeply, the more access they'll have to the internal landscape. Commitment is a force. Increasing the heat and force of commitment remains a central aim of this paratheater work. Breaking a sweat and turning up the heat lets the body know we're getting serious. What are we getting serious about? We're getting serious about engaging energies bigger than the physical body is accustomed to experiencing. Like, for example, the dream body and the power of dreaming. After the physical warm-up, we do what I call non-directional jogging. This helps relax the grip we have over our bodies, an often unconscious grip resulting from our daily stresses and tensions. Relaxing this grip liberates a stream of impulses where the body takes on a kind of willy-nilly ragdoll quality. Relaxing this grip also prepares us for no-form practice, the crux of paratheater. No form is a term borrowed from Buddhist Zazen meditation. Unlike traditional sitting Zazen, we practice no form standing up and through various group formations. Also, unlike Buddhism, we don't relate no form with any doctrine of enlightenment. We use no form as a tool for inducing enough internal receptivity to sources of energy in the body itself. As the group stands in no form, they're projecting a source of energy into an area on the floor before them. I'll share more about this process of conscious projection later. When they're receptive enough, they step into that area, that source, and surrender to its influence.
You know, no form rocks. It's a pretty special thing to tap into.
Talk about no form.
Really? Really? No. Okay, so no form, let's see. Well, I guess if I could talk about it, it wouldn't be what it is, right? There's that. It's a really powerful place of meditation, really, and when you get it, it's like, it actually always really sucks when you get it, because then you're not in no form anymore. But there's that time, that moment of that sort of light bulb moment with no form where you really, you know that you went there and that you fully embraced and embodied that. And sometimes just how hard it is to get there is what makes that so amazing when you do, I guess. And I think that, not getting there is just as frustrating as, I don't know. It's an interesting thing that's really hard to talk about. It's like, it's sort of, and I feel too, listening to anyone try to explain this work is sort of like listening to someone telling you about this crazy dream that they had. And no matter how vivid it is for that person, it's still really pretty annoying to listen to somebody talk about, because you were never there. There's no way that, that you can really verbalize what that meant.
People were kind of placed everywhere doing their dream movement. It was very much like a dream. I would say that if I were going to have a dream about about people being in a room doing their dream movements, it would look like that.
For the mechanical stage of the dreaming ritual, you need at least 3 movements from your dreams. They can be from the same dream or from many dreams, just as long as they all come from the dream time. You can have more than 3, but any more than 5 or 6 movements can bog things down. It's best to keep it simple. To create a dream movement cycle, you connect the end of the first movement to the beginning of the second movement. Then link the end of the second movement to the beginning of the third movement. Finally, blend the end of the third movement to the start of the first movement, and voila, you have a dream movement cycle. Practice this movement cycle until it becomes second nature. This will form the structure for the charged stage of the dreaming ritual that will be introduced later.
feedback loop that happens where once I start playing around with the dream movements, it's like there's a closer relationship develops between my waking body and my dream body.
A few weeks into the lab, we had some really intense night, and I went home and had some really, really, big sleep, and, woke up with this entire choreography of dream movements that I got to choose from, which then, sort of posed a whole nother set of difficulty and frustration just in trying to pick the movements out and then thread them back together in a way that was something that I could actually execute physically, and also something that wasn't going to become, because this is what happened, is it did become too mental. I was too focused or tied into sewing it all together. It became this very, very technical thing, and that gets really frustrating too when your mind and your body are in kind of two different places with something. And then I sort of whittled everything down again and simplified even more, and realized that, that in my threading all those movements together, I had like 15 dream movements going on at once or something. So kind of, trimmed the fat on that, and then, finally got to a place where I felt like there was some sense of like fluidity in it. And then it was over. Yeah.
Sourcing refers to the interaction of engaging vital forces in the body. For this dreaming ritual, I assign the group the dynamic polarity of dream body and earth body. The intention here is to engage the realities of these sources, and not any preconceptions or ideas of what the dream body or the earth body might mean. These bodies already exist as realities. It just takes a certain receptivity to experience this firsthand. That's where no form comes in. When each person reaches their peak receptivity in no form, they project the dream body source to their left and the earth body source to their right. And then they enter one of those areas and surrender to its influence. As they move around, they cross over to the other side of the space and experience the opposite source. So they alternate between dream body, earth body, dream body, earth body. And as they move back and forth, the connections between dream body and earth body are exposed and amplified.
I wasn't surrendering. I was trying to make it happen too much myself instead of just allowing what was already there to manifest.
The technique of conscious projection taps into the unconscious projection processes we do all the time. We project energy everywhere without realizing it. Picture all the energy we invest in other people, our jobs, our family, friends and enemies, society, the world. When this projection process is made conscious, it can become a ritual technique for charging an area with energy or power. It's also how we can subject ourselves to the force of our own projections. You surrender to your own energy. Surrender here means letting go of your ideas about what is happening and yielding to a more direct, intuitive experience of the energy itself.
I mean, letting go is actually very exhaustive. It's very tiring to really surrender. That was one thing I found in the last lab, that it was so tiring. I mean, it was so much work to really surrender.
Surrender for me will tend to be synonymous with immersion or full embodiment, and that I'm surrendering my body to the source. I'm allowing the source to occupy me and to flow through me, to move me, to shape me, and really just subjecting myself to whatever the force brings with it. And service is different. Service cultivates a relationship with the force in question, and often, sometimes that means channeling it. That means working with it in some way, channeling it, saying, how does it want to be expressed? Does it want to turn into a dance, a song, a particular series of movements? And so there's some collaboration with the force happening of what can I do? What can I do for you? Not just oh, take me, but what can I do to give you expression here? What is it that you as a force need from me as a person, as a psyche and a body? And sometimes it's a way of regulating the force. Sometimes service to a force that's difficult is a how do I manage this? How do I manage and regulate this thing?
Verticality. Initially, it's a it's a good practice for me, because for me, in my mind, I want to think sourcing from up, that's coming down. And verticality really comes through to the grounding into the earth. So sourcing verticality is a real practice for me to feel above and below.
Accessing verticality acts as a bridge to the dream body and is our final preparation for the charged state of the dreaming ritual. Standing in no form, each person projects the power of dreaming into the workspace. Since their dream movements originated as dream energy, they also project their dream movement cycle into the workspace with the power of dreaming. If you watch closely, you may notice how the structural integrity of each person's dreaming ritual develops and then begins to either slow down or wobble or deviate or even fall apart. That's the power of dreaming having its way with them.
dreaming ritual remains one of the more mysterious things that we have done to me, insofar as definitely something happens when we do it, when I do it. However, it's hard to describe exactly what. I would say that the process of creating a cycle of movements, from 3 or more discrete dreaming movements, creates a sort of it creates a rhythm or some kind of cadence that seems to have a certain power. So performing that cycle, under the influence of different sources, has definitely created its own kind of trance in me as I do it, and it's not always the same. The same movements don't always produce the same kind of trance. So it's hard to say exactly what's happening, and I don't understand what's happening, but I can say for sure that it does tap into some power or some energy that I can feel when I do it.
After each and every ritual in this paratheater medium, we always return to no form. Returning to no form diffuses and neutralizes whatever energies we merged with and identified with. Releasing our attachment to these forces also minimizes ego inflation, so we don't have to leave the room in some trance, believing we are an archetype or some god form, or shot up with ourselves in some superhero self-image. When we return to no form, we let these forces go and return to being nobody but ourselves.
No form's awesome. Thank you. No form is, it just keeps everything in check. As far as having a vehicle, a way, a practice to just let go of anything that I might come in contact with or experience or emote or express, that, no form allows the time to let it go, because it's just kind of coming through, it just came through. Frustrations with no form might be, how do I get deeper into no form? And who's the thinker, who's the person that's thinking about getting deeper into no form? And is that voice not part of my no form? It gets a little crazy making. Because there's, obviously, there have been times where I feel like I got no form nailed. I know no form. I just do this. And
I had sort of a preconception about no form, in that I thought, well, it must be a certain clarity of mind in the same style that I'm attempting when I do a seated meditation. And that was a useful starting point, but it became clear with more practice that no form included that clarity of mind, but it was not just that. And more recently, I've discovered really a palpable sense of what it's like to empty myself out, or attempt to, which is now what I identify more closely with the no form process, which is really like an evacuation of energy to whatever extent I'm capable of at that time, and not only in the head but in the rest of me, and that's been connected to my breathing and finding different ways to breathe to sort of expel, through the feet or through the sacrum, and also finding new mobility in my hips to kind of attempt to create like a cavity or some kind of vessel from which all that can issue forth. So no form, I would say, has been elusive at times, and one of the most simultaneously rewarding and frustrating parts of the process, because it's always there and it's not always enjoyable or easy or fun, but it's definitely proven to me with time that the extent to which I can empty myself out is the extent to which I can then be filled by something else.
In that lab, you really stressed no form and other things as tools to use within the paratheater medium. And at that, I really got, I mean, somehow it really kind of sank in that, oh, I see. And so, I don't think I've ever thought of anything like that, that there's this, I'm not sure, that there's this method that you can use that will set you up and allow you to be in a certain state that also then allows so many other or so many more different things to come in. But it's, I can see how it would parallel a lot of different things in life, such as you learn how to do this one thing, and then that opens the door to be able to do many other things. And for me, that's what no form was. No form was the entranceway into being able to do many other things that I don't know that I would ever have been able to.
As a regular person, I hold myself a certain way, and then if I'm in front of whoever I'm in front of, whether it's my kids, a boss, a teacher, a spouse, I will hold myself a certain way. I will catch how I hold my mask or my physicality. And then given the permission of no form to not have to hold, I was like, wow, I really have these little areas that I really kind of hold on to as protection. And sort of like it was this unhooking, this disengaging from these areas that I was holding in place to be a certain way, to appear a certain way, and then to be given freedom to speak. No, you get to just be whoever you are or nothing. Because there was also the what was the other one called? The no form or something? The non-directional no form? There was like one beyond that I was like, whoa.
The term was impersonal no form.
Impersonal no form.
And
Yes.
it's so because you have your personal no form process, however that happens. And then there's this notion that there may be a no form beyond your personal efforts.
That was surreal. When I was like, okay, so I'm understanding this disengagement from all these holdings and da-da-da. And now there's the impersonal no form. Wow. So maybe I'm just a bunch of electrical matter stuck together with atoms vibrating at a certain level. And it was like, oh, you can't even talk. You can't even think because then you're personalizing it. So I had to enter it without my head.
do you do this work?
Why do I do this work? I don't know. No, this has kind of been my answer to that it's my form of prayer. It's it's a big dose of prayer because it's movement prayer, it's visioning prayer, it's actual prayer, it's kind of like a ritualized thing prayer. It's not it's a way for me to worship that is asocial. It's why do I do this work?
I can't say that I've thought a lot about whether it has affected my everyday movements, but it definitely has affected my performance, my performing. It seemed like it took a long time for that to happen, and then all of a sudden, one day it just happened, and now it completely informs anytime I'm going to go into a performative state. I just kind of instantaneously kind of drop into a kind of a no form and think about what it is I'm going for, what my source is, and come out into that source. So it's informed it a great deal.
The lab space has come to be a place that I feel quite safe in. So I've been able to have, experiences of my own emotional states and, some of the deeper qualities of what's informing my experience. And so when I leave there, those stay with me, and I have some sense of, well, this is really where I'm coming from or where I'm at. So I would say the thing that keeps me interested and involved in this work is that it seems like it's teaching me slowly how to have a less mediated and more direct experience of myself in the world. And that's just about the most interesting thing I can imagine.
Have you done any stage work, any performance work where any of this kind of paratheater process has kind of come in handy or benefited in any way yet?
When I first started with you, I was actually in the midst of a play.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found really useful was discharging my day before I came into the theater space, like we do when we do paratheater work, and really walking through the whole space and picking up on its energies and feeling it, how far out it goes, how I'm fitting into that. I don't even know how to describe it, but using that technique.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it was time to get into my character and makeup, costume, and then really inhabiting her world, and then finding certain spots on the stage, because I worked with one of your students who's also my acting coach, who said you may want to set certain areas as source areas. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give that a try. And sometimes it worked really, really powerfully, and other days I felt like I didn't need it as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting on stage and really being into those moments and using my breath and connecting with other people. That's something I haven't done yet in your work.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really worked with others.
Mm-hmm.
But I was finding that if I was true to myself and the sources that I was accessing, that I wouldn't be up in my head and have my ego get in the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was being more of service to, okay, here we are on stage and we're having fun, but it's not about me showing off.
Mm-hmm.
So that once again, there is that liberation, that freedom to play and enjoy and send this storytelling message out to the audience and have them participate without my ego being in there judging it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, discharging it.
Have you found parallels between Aikido and paratheater? And if so, how would you describe those parallels? And or how are you applying them in your Aikido practice?
Oh, there are definitely parallels, and I think there's a lot of parallels at the core of it. The paratheater work we connect with vertical sources. We develop this verticality, this vertical awareness and connectivity. And then if there's interactions in the course of the work, we have these horizontal interactions with the other people out there moving. But to do those interactions with integrity, one has to be connected to one's vertical sources. And Aikido works the same way, really. It's taking vertical sources, a sense of connection to one's own center and to the earth and to the universe, and taking that into one's interactions so that conflicts or any other interactions are informed by a higher source, by a groundedness and a verticality. So essentially, it's taking the vertical into the horizontal. Both practices are about that at the core, I think.
Have you found any kind of connection yet into yoga between paratheater and yoga?
So the first obvious connection is the vertical source. In yoga, you spend a lot of time trying to free up the blockages of the spine, and since everything's attached to the spine, you have to free up everything else to free up the spine, so that's where all the postures come from. So last year I had a sense that actually the paratheater work was more yoga than yoga these days, because it's not just about, people get obsessed with the freeing up part, but it's freeing up to do what? Like, they miss the part that comes next, which is kind of the point of yoga, which is union with this divine vertical. So, you can lie down, I suppose, but it's more powerful, actually, when you are lined up to the vertical axis.
Has this work frightened or overwhelmed you in any way? And if so, can you give any examples of that?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I think there's different kinds of fear, or maybe just more so a sense of unknown in this work that can be really scary. I think that there are different stages of that in this work. I think that when I first started doing this work, the fear of it was what was really the energy that you were kind of getting high off of. That's the thing that's like really sort of informing where you're going next, is that level of unknown or uncertainty in it. And I think then you kind of go through this period of time where you've gotten past that fear of the unknown thing, or of yourself in the unknown. I think there's a difference between that. And then you get kind of into this weird comfort zone where like nothing really happens, and that's pretty scary because you're not new to the work, and you're also not in a place where, I don't know, I had that moment for like a year or so where it was just this constant, am I ever gonna, it was almost numbness, and that was really scary, legitimately scary. And then there's different kinds of fear where you do get to a place where you're able to really let go of all of your, all of the stuff that you're grasping onto for safety. You get to a place where you can let go of that, and a new kind of fear kind of comes out, where sometimes things happen with you in your body and in the way that you respond to something that you're totally not expecting at all. You're like, I don't even know who I am right now at all. This is absolutely terrifying, which is totally awesome because it means that you're going somewhere. It means that you're on a new path, that you're in uncharted territory, in uncharted waters. And I think that that's been a huge, really fun place to be in this moment, is that place.
Yeah, it's beautiful.